Hey, how you doing everybody? Richard here, doing another video about stocks today. And in today's video, in just a minute, when I get through some of the stuff in the beginning, I'm going to show you how to get 10 times more than everybody else for your options. When you sell a covered call, when you sell a put, I will show you how to get 10 times more in a very simple, why didn't I think of it first kind of way. But first, I want to talk about what the general thing we're doing on my channel is. And what we're doing is enhancing returns by finding mathematical ways that we can take advantage of situations by having a high VIX with high option prices, finding stocks that are out of skew with reality, by taking advantage of these little things that come up to add little bits of cash over and over and over and over to really maximize your returns. So the first thing, I got one email and somebody said, well, I almost thought about adding almost half of his account to one of the stocks I mentioned. Now, what I like to point out is if you're going to change your stocks or buy some additional stocks in order to get back to zero, the only way that works is if all your other stocks go up as well, because you're not likely, now I'm going to give you some later, but you're not likely to find stocks that go up while everything is going down and the world is collapsing around you. This is a little different. It wasn't like that in the last two major bear markets. This time it actually is, and we'll get to that in a minute. So the point is, you have to buy a lot less than half of your whole account to get the job done. All you have to buy is a very small amount, because as it goes up, everything else goes up, and you really need less and less and less to get back to zero as that happens. So it's kind of a common thing people forget about, is they say, well, I'm down $10,000, so they look at some stock and say, well, I think maybe this will go up $10,000 and I'll be okay. And they completely forget that the rest of their portfolio is going to go up by 8 if that works. So they only need to actually get 2 out of the new stock, right? Okay, so what I'm doing is slow and steady. The best way to get rich and stay rich is slow and steady. The best way not to get rich and not stay rich is to try to do it quickly. Even if you win the Powerball lottery, your odds of being rich 2 years later are less than 50%. You have to keep that in mind, okay? So I want everybody to learn what a put and what a call is. Spend 15 minutes 2 times a day on Investopedia until you have it figured out, because they're very, very important in enhancing your returns, okay? Now, today I want to talk about what do you do when, let's say you're a young person or you have an income business, whatever it is, you start to generate a lot of cash. Even though you think the market may go down, at some point, you have to invest that cash. At some point, you have to find something to do with it. The first thing I would say is to earmark it for things within a year that you plan on buying anyway, to sort of stall the need to invest it in the market right now. Another thing I would say is a lot of people out there, they don't really know which way the market is going, so they say to do nothing. That's a failure. There are always things you can do to enhance your return and make money. As you know, one of the things I'm recommending is selling covered calls above the money to raise cash, or have some of that stock called away. And we'll get to a really good way to do that in a minute too, okay? So one of the reasons I do this, one of the reasons I want you to do this, is making more money reduces the risk in your portfolio when things go down. If you're just making 6% in this market over the last 10 years, you lost 3 years of work when it went down 30%. Some people lost 5 years of work. If you had been enhancing your returns, making lots of money all the way along, you would have been much, much more able to just sell your stocks and let it drop, because you would have made so much money on top of the 6% that it would have allowed you psychologically to do that. Okay? It's also just more fun and easier to be making more money than to be making less money. Okay? Now, I still believe that we're stretching the rubber band. You know, this last week, you know, the IMF is saying it's going to be much worse for the emerging markets. Singapore, France, Germany, the Japan banks are having a problem delisting their stocks. It's so bad. As I was watching TV a few minutes ago, I see companies saying they're bleeding cash at an unprecedented rate. None of that bodes well for a couple of months from now. Don't be confused because this week, where we have Amazon, Google, Tesla, all these stocks that are on fire, dragging the market up, that means everything's all rosy and wonderful. It's not. Okay, so let's say you're in a position where you want to rebalance your portfolio. So what I'm going to talk about now applies to people who should be rebalancing their portfolio, or people with new cash above 20% that you're just going to have to put in the market someday, okay? So the first thing I want to get across is I believe we're in what I'll call the New World Order. And what I mean by that is the stocks that have gone from $50 to $2,500, like Amazon, the stocks have gone from 10 to 100 or 300 or whatever they are, like Netflix, Apple, Google. Those are running into what's called the law of large numbers. They're not going to be able to grow. They're not going to be able to double by next quarter. They're going to do well. They're good stocks. But we're in a new world order where we're coming into a new generation of people who are going to start buying what they like. Now, those kids like Apple. They like Amazon, so those aren't going anywhere. But they like a whole new kind of thing. They like Tesla. They like electrification. They, for whatever reason, seem to like pea-based hamburgers. They seem to like space exploration. They like a whole bunch of new things that are going to become the $2,500 stocks of the future. Now, here's a little statistic for you. 8 out of 10 of the top companies are no longer in the top 10 every 10 years. Now, that's mainly because GE and Exxon were in the top 10 for so many years. Now, it may change a little because I'm sure Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google will probably be in there for a lot longer than 10 years. But the point is that the top stocks don't stay at the top forever. And once you have this massive group of stocks that's at the top, and you have a whole new generation of kids, it's time to start looking at what's going to be the next Amazon. It's time to start taking what millennials like seriously. So the first thing when you're rebalancing your portfolio is look at things that are COVID friendly. We've already talked about Amazon, which is being COVID friendly. I do want to talk about NAT. It's a $6 stock. I paid like $5 for it last Monday or Tuesday or something like that. It's Norwegian NAT. I never even looked at it before, but it's an oil tanker storage play. Norwegian, NAT, what the hell does that stand for? I forget, so it doesn't even matter. But I like this stock because it's going to pay you at least 10% over the year with dividends, and it will double or triple in price in a year. It's good for at least a year. It's going to go up while the rest of the world collapses. So it gives you a stock going up while everything else is going down, and you'll be able to pay short-term capital gains by holding it for at least a year. That's a COVID-friendly stock, which you should have. Amazon, COVID-friendly. But let's start thinking about things that are way off into the future now, like Virgin Galactic, like Beyond Meat. Tesla, as crazy as it is, Roku, Verizon with 5G, things millennials like Netflix, okay? These are all things to consider going into this new world era where what's worked really, really well and gotten to the top of the ladder is just going to become a good stock, not a great stock. And the great stocks are the ones that millennials are going to like, okay? So let's talk about how you get 10 times more on an option, okay? Now here's just some rough number examples. Let's say you sold $100 below the money put on Tesla. And what that means is you're making an offer that it's a $700 stock today. If it drops to $600 or below, that guy who owns that will force you to buy it. So you'll end up with $700 in your account, or $800 rather in your account, and 100 shares of Tesla that you have to pay $60,000 for. So you're getting this little discount on your 100 shares is how people look at it. Plus, you missed out on the $10,000 drop. Okay, this is why people sell put options. So that's an $800 discount on $60,000 worth of stock is not all that great. But you don't have to take the whole 100 shares. You could short 99 shares. If it looked at 601 like it was going to drop below 600 and you were going to have to buy it, you could short 99 shares. What would happen then is you would have to buy one share, because you'd get 100 shares put to you, you're at minus 99 by shorting it, and you end up with a positive one share. That means you got a share of Tesla for free and $200. Now, I'm not recommending you short all 99. What I'm trying to point out is that you can go into selling these put options not with the intention of taking the 100 shares. You can go into it with the intention of shorting 90 and only getting 10 shares, which means your 10 shares to the premium you get is 10 times more than people with 100 shares to the premium they get. You can do the same thing with covered calls. People are probably saying, well, I'd sell a covered call, but I don't want to quite lose all 100 shares. That's too much cash in my account. Fine. If it looks like it's going to get called away, buy 90 more shares. They call away 100, you bought 90, now you've only sold 10, and the premium you got for selling those 10 shares with that covered call is 10 times more than everyone else. This is a very, very powerful way to massively increase your wealth, but it's very slowly because you're only getting 10 shares. People, and the only drawback, you say, oh, well, what if I don't get those 90 shares and it pops up really fast, no. Trying to get rich slowly, not get rich fast. You want to reduce your risk and maximize your chances of success. You don't want to increase your risk in hopes to get rich quickly. Okay? So it's really, really important to understand this concept. Now here's how you can, and wait, there's more. Another thing you can do, let's say you go with $100 below the money on Tesla and you get your $800. Well, you could buy one share of Tesla and have $200, or since Tesla's an $800 stock, maybe you only want to buy 100 shares. You want 100 shares of NAT. So you use the option on the $800 stock to end up with a whole bunch of shares of something much smaller. You could sell a put on Amazon for $1,500 and then buy 2 shares of Tesla instead. So the point is if you're selling puts on high dollar stocks, you could then take that money and buy very low dollar stocks and build up a large number of shares in good companies that are just low priced, like NAT that I'm recommending. So that's really today's video. Really think about using these option contracts on 10, 15, 20. If you want to double what you're getting on options, either buy 50 more shares when it's called away or short 50 if it gets put to you. But I want you to start looking at these things. One of the things I want you to do is go ahead and sell a put on NAT at either $6 or $5.50, wherever it looks like it makes sense today. I noticed it popped up Friday after hours. If it hadn't done that, I'd said $5.50 Friday. Today, I'll probably, if it stays around $6, go ahead and sell an option for $6. Start seeing how they work. It's only $600 worth of oil tanker stock you'll end up with. No big deal, but it will teach you how options work. You'll start visibly seeing it in your own account. All right, so thanks for watching my videos. I hope you like this little scene here. This is upstairs in my house. You can see the bedroom door to the left there. This is basically a Buddhist kind of praying area that my wife and her father have made over the years. So that's something to think about. Once again, I believe the market is too high. I wouldn't be rushing into anything, but start thinking about COVID-friendly, millennial-friendly, future-friendly kind of things. If you have to invest, and start thinking well into the future about what is it that's going to become the next FANG group, the next stocks. And some of them may not even be listed yet. Things like Impossible Burger aren't even on the market yet. So keep all this in mind, and I hope that helps you. And really think about using these options on 10 shares instead of the normal 100 to get 1,000% more on your options than the other guy. All right, see you later.